As the state of war in Uttar Pradesh heats up, the call for a mandir in Mathura is getting louder. Today, on the anniversary of the demolition of the Babri Masjid, an uneasy calm prevailed in Lord Krishna's birthplace. Security was beefed up after right-wing groups called for the installation of a Krishna idol at the Shahi Idgah Mosque in the ancient city. National Affairs Editor Rahul Srivastav is on the ground and he files this exclusive report.
These are sights and sounds of a dispute being concocted. The narrow gauge rail track for the Mathura Vrindavan pilgrimage train is off limits. Every arterial road and lane around the Krishna Janmabhoomi temple in Mathura barricaded. Mathura and its residents are anxious, as half a dozen unknown groups have threatened to widen the fault line between two adjoining places of worship, Krishna Janmabhoomi temple and Shahi Idgah and their followers. Police say the state government has ordered zero tolerance to trouble.
मथुरा जो है एक ब्रिज नगरी है और यहाँ से हमेशा एक प्रेम का संदेश पूरी दुनिया को गया है और इसी परंपरा को कायम रखते हुए पुलिस और प्रशासन का लगातार जनता से जो हमारे धर्मगुरु हैं उनके साथ हमारा लगातार संवाद रहता है। इस विषय पर भी सबने शांति व्यवस्था बनाए रखने के लिए अपील भी किया है, हमारा सहयोग भी किया है।
Police fights a battle at multiple fronts. It's approaching elders of the two communities. Those posting objectionable content on social media are being warned. The huge deployment brings partial relief to city's people. They fear Mathura could be the next political Ayodhya. There are signs of anxiety and more Muslims have been visiting the mosque since the threats were made.
Are the Muslims worried?
Exactly. Because of two reasons. Because they have seen the times and the wives and the daughters and the little children. They are much worried. God forbid what happens, what takes place in case the huge number of the majority community comes up and they are not being stopped by the forces. There is perfect peace in the city.
Mathura stayed peaceful while Ayodhya simmered, courtesy a 1968 peace accord between the Hindus and Muslims. Harmony ensured peaceful social and economic coexistence. Muslims supply flowers for the Krishna temple. The zari chunri or drapes for female deities are crafted by the Muslims. Pappu Bhai, a Muslim, runs a workshop that supplies the shiny crowns for thousands of Krishna idols in Mathura and Vrindavan. He even makes the jeweled crown for the deity at the Krishna Janmabhoomi temple. He doesn't want disharmony but is against the claim for the mosque's land.
पप्पू साहब ये बताइए, आप ये जो बनाते हैं ये किसके लिए बनाते हैं?
लड्डू गोपाल के लिए।
लड्डू गोपाल कौन है?
लड्डू गोपाल
भगवान कृष्ण है, यानी हिंदुओं के भगवान।
हाँ।
तो ये बताइए कि आप सिर्फ ऐसे छोटे छोटे बना के बेचते हैं कि
मतलब मैं 0 नंबर से लेके जितने भी बड़े होंगे, जितने भी बड़े से बड़े होंगे 100 रुपए के मुकुट बना दूंगा।
अभी अचानक ये झगड़े की बात आ रही है कि साहब कृष्ण जन्मभूमि की जो जमीन है जहाँ शाही ईदगाह खड़ी है वो जमीन चाहिए लोगों को।
तो वो जमीन कैसे मिलेगी? ये मुझे वो तो हमारी रहेगी।
Ayodhya suffered due to the Ram Temple Babri Mosque tussle for decades. But Mathura has stories of prosperity and tourism that sustains virtually every Mathura home. Brijwasi Sweets is Mathura's own success story. Its owner, like all businessmen in the city, is battling for peace, not the color of his faith.
यहाँ पर किसी तरीके की कोई परेशानी किसी को नहीं हो रही है। यहाँ का एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन और पुलिस दोनों कोऑर्डिनेशन से काम कर रहे हैं। साथ के साथ यहाँ की जनता भी उस सहयोग में भागीदार है। सब लोग ये चाहते हैं कि यहाँ अयोध्या जैसी स्थिति उत्पन्न नहीं हो और निश्चित रूप से अयोध्या जैसी स्थिति उत्पन्न नहीं होगी।
In Mathura, the Krishna Janmabhoomi temple and the Shahi Idgah have coexisted for a period much longer than any devotee who walks up the steps for blessings. In the city, the Ayodhya playbook, it seems, is being deployed. An emotive issue from the backyards of history is being rolled out into the playground called electoral politics. In Mathura, with Vinod, Rahul Srivastava for India Today.
That's an eye-opening ground report by Rahul Srivastava talking about how locals in the area feel about the Krishna temple over there in comparison with the petitioners who don't happen to be local. So is this a genuine demand coming from the ground, as was the case with Ayodhya, or is this just an election tactic to whip the communal cauldron? Joining me on the broadcast, representing the Bharatiya Janata Party, Charu Pragya. One of the petitioners in this case, in the Krishna Janmabhoomi case, is Vishnu Jain, an advocate at the Supreme Court. Waris Pathan is a spokesperson of the AIMIM. And Rahul Srivastava is our National Affairs editor. You saw his ground report from Mathura. T.A. Rahmani joins us. He's president of the Muslim Political Council of India. Vishnu Jain, I start with you. When the Supreme Court judgment in the Ayodhya temple case came, the implicit understanding, in fact, many seniors from the BJP and the Sangh Parivar said so publicly, that this is where the dispute must end. There are many temples which were demolished by the Mughals and before that by Islamic invaders, but you can't keep raking up wounds of the past, and therefore we will now look beyond Ayodhya and not keep raising issues of Mathura, Kashi and other places. Now, just before the elections in Uttar Pradesh, we are seeing attempts being made to foment this old demand once again. Is this just an election stunt?
See, Rahul, as a lawyer practicing in the Supreme Court of this country and as well as representing the person who are the petitioners in this case, I would like to state at the outset that we have filed this suit much before the elections of UP. We had filed it on 25th of September 2020, and during COVID we couldn't file it, otherwise it would have been filed in 2019 itself, but it has been filed in 2020 and the suit has been admitted. The appeal is pending before the district judge and it is now likely to be listed on 14th of December. Now, coming to the point, I am not a politician and I am not here to make a political statement. My point is completely legal. The Ram Janmabhoomi judgment which you just referred to, para 116 and 117 of the Ram Janmabhoomi judgment clearly states that if a temple was pre-existing and if a temple has been destroyed, even though by an invader or through effects of time or by natural decay, the संकल्प, मंदिर बनाने का जो संकल्प है वो अमर होता है, वो अमिट होता है. The legal entity which I take, the vow which I take, that sacred vow which I take to construct a temple will be there till time immemorial. So the point is that if I was prior in time in Shri Krishna Janmabhoomi case, and if I am able to prove in the courts of law that yes, there was a temple which has been demolished by Aurangzeb, and I don't want to waste time here by reading the Farman. I have the Farman of Aurangzeb which has been quoted by historians in many books, and that Farman directly says that the Aurangzeb has demolished the temple and the idols large and small are buried under the stairs of Begum Shahi. So my right exists. The constitution of this country, the judgment of the Supreme Court,
the same Supreme Court judgment that you refer to in the case of the Ayodhya judgment also talks about the solemn duty of the state to protect religious places and the basic structure doctrine. I want to quote to you what the Supreme Court says in the Ayodhya judgment, where it affirms an already existing solemn duty of the state to preserve and protect the equality of all faiths as an essential constitutional value, a norm which has the status of being a basic feature of the constitution. You cannot ask for old existing structures to be taken down because there is a historical demand. It says so very clearly in the Places of Worship Special Provisions Act.
See, Rahul, the Places of Worship Act has been challenged by me in the Supreme Court. The notice has been issued. Apart from that, we have a second limb of argument that in this particular case, the Places of Worship Act is not attracted because everyone reads Places of Worship Act in isolation. If one will read section 4 subclause 1 of the Places of Worship Act, it uses the word religious character. And that's the precise point, and I want you to appreciate it, and that's why Kashi case is going on. The district judge in Kashi case has given a finding that Places of Worship Act is not attracted in that case, and the precise case is in Mathura also, because if a character of that particular land, that is 13.37 acres of land, is a Hindu character, then Places of Worship Act will not apply. And that's what our precise argument is. I am not going on the constitutional validity of the Places of Worship Act. When the Supreme Court will declare it unconstitutional, that's a separate issue. Even if the Places of Worship Act exists, it is not applicable in this particular case.
No,
and
but
our
that's
case,
for
if you will
interpretation
examine the
before
merits
a
of the
court of
case,
law.
you will
Just
find
because
that
you have a voice and you're making an argument outside
Yes,
court doesn't mean
That's why
that the court will accept it, because as far as the basic structure of the Constitution doctrine is concerned, the Places of Worship Special Provision Act is concerned, which was passed during the P.V. Narasimha Rao government, it prohibits the conversion of places of worship like churches, mosques, temples into places of worship of a different religion. That is the law of the land at this moment. Rahul Srivastav, you're in Mathura. You spent the day and yesterday talking to people. Give us a sense of the mood on the ground. Do people in Mathura really want to see a Christian Janmabhoomi at the disputed spot, or is this really something that outsiders are doing to whip up communal frenzy?
Rahul, at one level, if one talks about a temple, there is always a sense of an emotive pull to it. But if you look at the real lives of people living in this real world, I think you cutting across caste community lines, one thing is very clear, that people don't want trouble. They do not want Mathura to be the next Ayodhya of 21-22. There is an absolute clear verdict. I have met people from all cross sections. Almost everybody virtually is saying that look at the timing. The timing that elections are barely 3 months, 2 months away, and you have got an outsourced kind of an effort by some people who do not have any, cannot be culpable as far as the usual suspects in such movements like BJP, VHP, RSS. You've got some very obscure entities, organizations which have sprung up just in the last few months, who have given a call that they want to come and perform some Hindu rituals at the mosque here. And then when the police pressure is exerted, they suddenly disappear, or they issue appeals that we are withdrawing our calls. The resultant is anxiety among the two communities. There is a large police bandobast which has made Mathura a headline that there is tension in Mathura. Now, I think if you look at it, somebody like me who has covered Ayodhya since 1988, I will say that there is a very Ayodhya-like playbook being deployed in Mathura. Claims of a community who is not actively endorsing it are being made, and it just could well be a start of an agitation just before the election, and then rest may be left. There is very little culpability for the organizations, and the court case which talks about demand for removing certain clauses of 1991 Places of Worship Act, as you talked, there is also, unlike Ayodhya, there is an accord and settlement between the two sides in Mathura. The mosque side and the mandir side, they got together and said that we are ready to coexist. So it's not Ayodhya, but there could well be an attempt to make it an Ayodhya for just before the next elections, maybe for a few more votes.
You're saying that it reminds you of the Ayodhya playbook. Charu Pragya, respond to it, because it's not just some fringe organizations that are now making this demand. Keshav Prasad Maurya, the Deputy Chief Minister of the BJP government in Uttar Pradesh, tweeted to say, and I quote, Ayodhya Kashi Bhavya Mandir Nirman Jari hai, Mathura ki taiyari hai, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shiv Shambhu, Jai Shri Radhe Krishna. Now, BJP leaders publicly at the highest levels after the Ayodhya judgment said that this is where this matter would rest, that demands of constructing temples in places like Mathura would not be raised. But in election season, that promise seems to be forgotten, Charu Pragya.
Rahul, at the onset, let me make one thing very clear. Whether it is Ayodhya, whether it is Kashi, whether it is Mathura, these are places of faith for us. These are matters of faith for us. And let's not politicize the issue more than required. Because the fact remains is that Ayodhya has been at the forefront of our agenda because we have believed in it. And we have believed in it not just for political reasons. We've believed in it for religious reasons, for cultural reasons. And the same stands for Mathura. This entire politicization, or should I say communalization of the issue, is because of Samajwadi Party. And I will tell you why I am saying this. Let's begin with the Ghaziabad incident. It all began there. So there was this incident in Ghaziabad. You're well aware of it. And that issue was made communal by the Samajwadi Party leaders. Moving on from there, there was an election speech by Akhilesh ji. He got in the name of Jinnah. What is the name to rake up?
So let's leave Jinnah for a moment. I'm asking you a very straight and direct question, Charu Pragya. Does the BJP, ma'am, listen to my question. We've debated Jinnah in the past. I'm discussing what's happening in Mathura at the moment. Does the BJP, madam, back the demand made by Keshav Prasad Maurya for a Krishnan temple in Mathura? That's the question. Your Deputy Chief Minister has made the demand. Is that now the official line of your party?
That demand has always existed, Rahul. Why don't you go back a few months, a few years, even a few decades even? It has never been a demand which has died out. I was trying to show you the chronology of Samajwadi Party in politicizing and communalizing every single matter in the state of Uttar Pradesh, because that's the only way they are going to gather a few votes. No other way. So like I started with Jinnah, the name was mentioned only to communalize, only to make sure there is mass voting of one particular community. It will not work. It did not work in the past. It's not going to work this time. But this is why all these attempts are being made. Now here we are, a party with policies which has nothing to do with the religion or community of any person, whether we are distributing Ujjwala Yojana cylinders, whether we are finding homes for the poor, whether we are electrifying villages. Nobody from this party or this government is going to people and saying, tell us your caste first or tell us your religion. So maybe we are ensuring that their politics is dying out day by day, and this is the only thing that they can think of doing at this point of time, at this critical juncture. But let's not mix matters of faith with politics.
Varis Pathan, the BJP spokesperson makes clear it's not a new demand, which is true, but it's also something they said they would not raise because of the Ram Temple judgment in the Ayodhya case in the Supreme Court. But now that elections are upon us, those past promises seem forgotten and the BJP is upping the ante on the Mathura temple again. Varis Pathan.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, Rahul, the BJP is trying to polarize the polls prior to the UP elections. Keshav Prasad Maurya has taken the oath of the Constitution, he's become the Deputy Chief Minister, but he is doing the violation of the Constitution. The Places of Worship Act 1991 is clear. Prior to 15th August 1947,
audible to anyone?
So why to bring in this issue? They are trying to create communal disharmony in the country. 144 is imposed now in Mathura. Now what they want to create? They want to create fear in the mind of the people. People are asking them questions about the rise in the prices of fuel, gas, petrol. They don't have the answers for them. People are asking them questions about the second wave of COVID. Because of Yogi's failure, we saw so many corpses floating on the river Ganges and the dogs eating that corpses because of the failure of Yogi. People are asking me questions. People are asking me questions on Hathras. People are asking me questions of Lakhimpur, wherein they are trying to save their own minister, Teni, whose son took the Thar and he crushed peacefully protesting farmers, and even the ballistic expert report has now come before us, and which is suggesting that the gun which was used, the bullet which was fired from the gun, was belonging to Teni's son, but they are trying to save him. Gorakhpur happened. So many, the crime rate in Uttar Pradesh is increased. Highest crime rate. The Niti Aayog reports is suggesting that Bihar, Jharkhand and Uttar Pradesh are the poorest states in our country. The Home Ministry Affairs data is before us, which says that only in the year 2021, 15 people have been killed in police custody. 452 youths have been killed in
let
judicial
Charu
custody.
Pragya respond to the charge. This is an attempt to deflect attention from key issues of COVID, of economy, of unemployment. Yes. And the fact in Mathura is, if you go back in time and look at the agreement that's been reached between the two sides, the Shahi Idgah and the Shri Krishna Janmabhoomi side, there is an agreement which deprives the trust of the legal right to stake a claim on the masjid. That is the settled reality of the situation as it exists on the ground in Mathura.
Rahul, now It is unfortunate that out of 50 positive narratives, the opposition chooses to pick one which suits them. Why are they not talking about the fact that Uttar Pradesh has become the Express Pradesh today, with 6 expressways which are going to ensure travel becomes easy, comfortable and quick. This travel is going to mean better industrialization and development of the state. This travel is going to mean that cities which have never been connected by major expressways will actually be on the grid today. They don't want to talk about how, in spite of a situation globally which was a loss of revenue for everyone, Uttar Pradesh has managed to get record investments. They don't want to talk about how WHO has praised Yogi Adityanath ji and his government for the handling of COVID. They don't want to talk about how women, how youngsters have sided with Bharatiya Janata Party repeatedly, in spite of all their pitches, mind you. UP Ki Ladke happened in 2017. They became Bua Bhatija in 2019. 2022 is showing one new again Gathbandhan. In spite of all of this happening, the people of Uttar Pradesh have been loyal to Bharatiya Janata Party only because our agenda, our pitch has been development and nothing else. But like I said, out of 50 positive things I can sit here and count, the opposition only wants to focus on one thing which divides society, because dividing society...
How are you looking at what's happening at Mathura? The fact is that there is now a certain simmer at ground zero, heavy security. Rahul Srivastav says it reminds him of the Ayodhya playbook. Is that something you're concerned about? Or do you think, given the settled legal status, at least on paper and on the ground, it can never become the kind of Ayodhya 2.0 moment that some of these petitioners are hoping for?
See, Rahul, first of all, the places of worship
T.A. Rahmani.
Supreme Court today. Okay, I'll let him finish first.
Mr. Rahmani?
You see, yes. I'm highly thankful to the Mathura administration that they have taken control and it maintained the calm and peace and the status quo there. Thanking them, I want to say that this BJP, the general citizenry of this country has understood this very clearly, that the BJP has no issue but the communal polarization. They cannot win even a single municipal corporation seat without this communal polarization, and the local people doesn't want to see this communal polarization anymore. That's why the people of Mathura, the local people, they did their own agreement amongst themselves to settle the issue. But obviously the BJP understand, even the VHP has smelled that BJP could not win this coming UP election. That's why the VHP has withdrew from this movement for today's program of the Jal Abhishek. They said that we are busy with the Rama construction of Ram temple, and they cannot afford time to come to the Mathura. So that very clearly shows that even the VHP, on whose shoulders they were pointing the guns, the BJP people were pointing them, has withdrew from this movement, and that's why the Deputy Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, he is tweeting. And the other leaders of BJP, they are tweeting, they are trying to attract VHP again. So it's very clear, neither the people nor the other organizations are interested in any communal agenda anymore for any forthcoming election in the state we need the development, and people understand that the Prime Minister and the Chief Minister is going forest to forest, laying the foundation of so many upcoming projects, not the completed project, but the upcoming projects like the Jewar Airport or the highways. So the roaming around the forest is not going to produce or yield any result for the BJP in the times to come. It's very clear, it's a writing on the wall.
Rahul Srivastav, what's your sense of what may happen next? We are in election season. Even if the BJP doesn't come out wholeheartedly and back the issue at this moment, which could change because we're already seeing that from Keshav Maurya, we're seeing it from the likes of Charu Pragya on the show. What do you think is likely to happen on the ground next?
Rahul, since 2014, the BJP has changed strategy. You know, when at one time the BJP had its hands dirty by using the temple movement. And once you do that, you know, you have to deliver on tangibles. But since 2014, if you see the strategy, there was Kabristan, Shamshan, electricity only being provided to one community. These are intangibles which don't stick. Now, I think what's going to happen, development in UP doesn't really work as an election winner. Akhilesh built one of the finest highways. He brought metro to Lucknow. He did a lot of work, but didn't really work for him. Everybody knows that caste works. The BJP does not have the most caste arithmetic usually, because the caste gladiators are Akhilesh and Mayawati. So the BJP has to create a different astroturf for their kind of political play. And in that, polarization is a very critical element. And that is why I will say that it may not reach that Ayodhya kind of intensity, but I think Krishna Janmabhoomi will remain on a slow simmer.
It doesn't need to reach the Ayodhya kind of level of heat, but you're saying that it will simmer in election season because it helps the BJP overcome other issues of distress, of anger amongst farmers in Western Uttar Pradesh, because you're bringing out the communal instincts in your voters and in your cadre and your party, and therefore hoping to encash on that in February and March. Charu Pragya.
Yeah, see, Rahul, first of all, let me correct my co-panelist. I can't see him, so I'm just going to randomly say this. When it comes to caste equations, the opposition couldn't have put up a better equation than in 2019. You're well aware how the Mahagathbandhan was supposed to function. If things had gone according to plan, and for the main key seats, even Congress did not field a candidate. Yet, you saw how we swept UP. In 2019, when everybody was saying nothing, absolutely nothing can beat the Mahagathbandhan, and that was their best efforts. 2022 is not even their best efforts. So I'm sorry, I don't agree with all this. You also cannot predict the electorate. Those who have attempted to do it in the past have failed. So let's understand our people are very intelligent. They are politically very astute, especially the people of UP. They understand politics and nuances very, very deeply, and just saying M plus Y is equal to XYZ is not going to work in these elections. It's never worked in the past. But coming to the other questions that you've been raising, I think it is a time to wait and watch, and let's see how the rest of the election campaign unfolds. But I want to make one thing very clear. Our party has shown the world that dharma and development can very easily go hand in hand, and we can be very good at both. So let's not choose one way or the other. We are very capable of maintaining our dharma and making sure there is ample development in the state where we are in government.
Waris Pathan, are you concerned that this issue of Mathura could become one of the flashpoints of the assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh and help the BJP rally its cadre and ensure that they are pumped up ahead of voting day?
Well, the BJP has stooped to that level. Earlier also there was the same thing, Gai, Ganga, Danga and Mandir. Now also they have come there only in Mandir issue. Now Madam was talking about faith. Let me answer her, Madam. Faith is important, but the country won't work on faith. The country runs on the constitution. So please follow the constitution. And you name Yogi's so many policies. Kindly name about his policy of that Thok Dalunga wali policy. He used against so many Muslims, killed so many Muslims. Even young boys were picked up, sent to jail, and then they were killed. So his Thok Dalunga wali policy has ended so many of them lifeless in Uttar Pradesh. And what has Yogi done for the development of Uttar Pradesh? Everybody knows in the last 5 years, if you ask for 10 development works of Yogi, the answer will be no. Yogi, except renaming the places, there is no other work done by Yogi. Madam, please have a decent debate. We were all silent when you were making your point. Okay, you make your point, Madam. I will sit quiet. Rahul, I think in your show, one person is allowed to make a point, the other has to
you had a full sway. You are allowed to say what you wanted. Have the patience now to listen to Waris Pathan.
Have the patience to hear to me, Madam. I know I am saying the truth, and truth is bitter, but you will have to listen. And what has Yogi done in the last 5 years being the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh? The answer will be nothing. No, merely by renaming names, you cannot. And we will ensure, Rahul, I am ensuring you, we are going there to defeat the BJP, and this time we are ensuring that Yogi does not become the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. And we are sure the people's love, affection, and they are very intelligent. UP people are very intelligent. They know what to do, and this time they will vote for our party rather than voting for Yogi.
Okay.
And what about
Charu Pragya, 20 seconds. I'm out of time. Quickly wrap up, please. Final
I never brought Samajwadi brought Jinnah. Who brought Abbajan, Bhaijan? They brought the BJP. So BJP and the Samajwadi, the so-called secular party, are two sides of the same coin. Now they have started Jinnah. What have you got to do with Jinnah?
At the beginning, Rahul, I don't think that's how politics New India is supposed to begin. This were my 20 minutes and I'm going to repeat myself. Please change your agenda from beating someone and actually to start working for people on ground to bringing about a change. Till you start focusing on the positive, the people are never going to side with you. And that's why we win elections, because we never talk about you. We talk about what we want to do for the people of that state.
Yeah, leave it over there.
People of UP won't vote
I have
for
a
you
feeling
this
that
time.
this is not the last
Positive
time you've
that
heard
is
of
why
the
people won't vote for
Mathura
you this time
Krishnan
and you will be
Janmabhoomi
defeated.
issue in the build-up to the election season. All manner of things will be said to justify why this issue is being raised. The important factor, though, is the kind of traction it generates on the ground and whether it proves to be an issue around which the BJP and the voters of Uttar Pradesh are willing to mobilize. We'll track this space very carefully.